Have a little.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Busting Through Life Challenges with me, Di Parker. And today I have the lovely Dr. Victoria Stakelum with me, who is the Success Smith and professional training, executive coaching, and leadership development. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Victoria, we've got quite a lot to talk about today, but what we'd like to share with is your journey to coaching. What made you decide to do coaching in the first place? And then if you could share what it is you do.
Of course. So I feel very lucky that my corporate career exposed me to personal development things very early on that really shaped me. So I was trained in NLP in 2001, and then I was trained as a coach in 2006, both within the context of being a better business person, being a better manager, being a better leader. And both of those experiences were quite transformative for me. So training in NLP, I actually didn't realize was as transformative as it was. It was only when I recertified as an NLP practitioner and then an NLP master within the last 5 years that I had this realization, oh, this stuff that I learned back in 2001 has absolutely underpinned my entire professional ideology. And I had a really successful corporate career. I went to the very top. I was an executive shareholder, a deputy chief executive before I was 40. It was, by most people's standards, a stellar career. And when I reflect on why I was so successful, it's basically the fact that I learned NLP in 2001. I just didn't realize it. Like it became a part of me.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of time for NLP, neurolinguistic programming, for those that don't know. So then in 2006, I was early in my management career and maybe finding my way as a leader manager. I was probably a little bit given to command control. I had, big vision and a lot of opinions on how I thought things should work. And I think I probably wasn't the best people manager. And then I was taken through this coaching training, and it was like paradigm shift. I just realized who I wanted to be professionally, how I wanted to be as a leader. And that carried me through what rapidly became this it was literally a career of two halves before I was trained as a coach and after. So I guess I learned coaching in the context of leadership. I learned to be leader as coach, and that was very profound for me. And lots of people that have worked with me and for me over the kind of subsequent 15 or so years that I was in corporate leadership, I know found me a good leader. And I know it's because I coached them. I let go of command control. I let go of ego, and I coached people and helped them tap into their brilliance. So fast forward a few years, I qualified as a psychologist. I certified as a coach externally. So I became a kind of proper accredited coach, if you like. And as I mentioned, I re-qualified in NLP. And towards the end of my sort of formal leadership career, when I was thinking about what else I wanted to do, I felt drawn to and compelled to support others with these amazing things I've learned that helped me be very successful. I also specialized for my psychological research in mindfulness, and that was a kind of later addition to my bundle of tools. So a lot of my work also involves helping people really connect to self, be grounded, be mindful, because I learned in top leadership that the only way to really thrive within the pressure that comes with that level of responsibility is to have a really strong connection to emotion regulation, groundedness, ability to really be in the present moment and cope with those pressures. And mindfulness just does that. It just gives you that if you have that regular practice. So when it came to starting my own business, leaving the corporate world, having my sort of second career, retirement career, if you like, it was so clear to me that that's what I wanted to do. And I've seen the benefits for myself, for so many of the people I've led. And then, of course, since moving out of that environment for the many clients that I've supported and served since.
That's just wonderful. And wow, what a lot of things you've done there to bring this service to people, as well as the experience. You know, when we've gone through things ourselves and then we go and get the coaching to support us, it is amazing how it helps us then navigate other things in life as they come up, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely.
So how do you work with clients? How do you how do you find them? When they come to you, what do you do with them? What does that look like?
Yeah, okay. So I work predominantly in two different ways with clients. So on the one hand, I have a particular interest in supporting professional women navigate to top leadership and cope when they get there. I run that through small group programs. It's not exclusively coaching. There's a training element, there's a heavy mentoring aspect, there's a curriculum, you kind of go on a journey. And essentially I've built in everything I just described having learned, but with the benefit of hindsight. Like, if only I could have seen this as I was moving through it. So it's a very unusual type of leadership development program, but it's absolutely phenomenal. The women that go through it have life-changing experiences, get enormous pay rises, get director level positions, and feel good and don't feel overwhelmed, which I think is wonderful. So that's one way I work with people. The main other way that I work with people is through a deeper form of NLP. So I do a lot of work in the emotion release, energetic cleansing kind of space. Toward the end of my career, when I was, getting into psychology and mindfulness and all of these other things, and became a master NLP practitioner, I also qualified as a hypnotherapist and timeline therapist. Timeline therapy is a branch of NLP that's very specific. And I use that to help people release the stuff that holds them stuck. And I love that work because it's so powerful and so rapid that when I'm sat in front of a person doing that work with them, we both feel the moment that the shift occurs. It's like the stuff just goes and it can never be the same again. It's like learning something that completely changes your world, that you can never go back to the moment before you learn that.
Yeah.
I love that. It's incredibly rewarding. So up until quite recently, that was something I only worked one-to-one with people. And funnily enough, I have just developed a pilot small group program called the Chrysalis, which kicks off this Friday. I know from a timing perspective, I'm not sure when this will air, but Friday the 12th of May, with a small group of women who I've kind of handpicked. They're women I know who have worked with me previously or who I've had an ongoing dialogue with, and they're going to work with me to experience this process in a small group setting that previously I've only been able to offer one-to-one, which limits how many people I can get it out to. And it's the bit that I'm most passionate about. So those are the main types of work I do. I'm also a positive intelligence mental fitness coach, so that's kind of it sits within my work, and everything I do really comes at life from these two angles of kind of business and leadership and real kind of emotional connection and emotional freedom. And I see the future of my business in really helping business leaders connect more and free themselves from the kind of blocks that often have us not be at our best as leaders, which can have an impact on entire businesses, their success, the people around them. So yeah, that's what I do.
Absolutely, because I've heard it myself where people have said, oh, it's business, it's nothing personal, it's business. And I'm like, no, it's very personal.
It's so personal.
It's part of you, and I too do the NLP timeline hypnotherapy things. So I completely understand what you're talking about when you can see that shift happening
and feel it. You can feel it in your own body when the other person is release.
And teaching them where it's okay to put those boundaries in place and build on their own self-worth in this environment where you think you should be showing up a certain way, to just be yourself. and empower yourself. That's really great.
Absolutely. And can I just say something on that, Di, because it really, one of my favorite topics, that thing about being yourself.
Yeah.
So many of the people I work with, when they come to me, they are projecting a persona professionally because they believe that that's what they need to do to succeed. And I really believe that we lose so much power in the gap between who we really are and the person we're presenting. And I think alignment to ourselves. I had the best phase of my corporate career when I was going to say found myself in, created a role where I was in complete alignment and could be myself. And it was like my performance skyrocketed. I did things that people said that can't be done. I grew a business from 6 million to 36 million in the space of a few years, you know, against all the odds and everyone's saying it, you know, that's not possible, that project will fail. And it's because I so believed in it. I was so in alignment. I didn't have to hide anything. I didn't feel defensive. I had nothing to fear. And when you get into that, it's like the lid comes off of your performance. And it's probably that's where I find my sweet spot, is helping people get to that. Because I can combine the kind of work that we're talking about of clearing the decks energetically with good old-fashioned business strategy and how to lead well and how to kind of find those connection points and align everything around you. So you can see I get very excited about this. It's a real blessing to do this work.
Putting down all of these restraints that they think they should be showing up wearing, to go, and the relief.
And the energy all of a sudden, like, oh, I'm energized now rather than drained.
I don't have to carry this anymore. It's awesome. So thank you for sharing all of that. So we'll go on to the more softer things I was wanting to talk about today. But we'll start off with a question I've been asking some of my people that come along. Who's inspired you the most in the last 1 to 2 years?
That is, for me, a really difficult question. I am very inspired by S.N. Goenka, who is deceased now, but he was the kind of modern founder of Vipassana meditation. Vipassana is a 10-day silent meditation retreat. It's hardcore. And I've done 2 now, and I will do more. You know, it is not a pleasant kind of Bali style meditation retreat. It's really tough and it's utterly life-changing. But when you do this, your kind of glimmer of enjoyment each day is you get to sit down and watch Goenka talk for an hour each evening. It's called the Discourses. And what he talks about, I find very inspiring. So it's not so much the individual person. And this is why it's a difficult question for me to answer. I tend not to be inspired by people so much as messages and energy. And I think Goenka's message to the world, I think, is an important one, an inspiring one. So that's probably the main person I would think of. I'm inspired by my children, often every day, for their, you know, their uninhibitedness and their creativity and their loveliness. And actually, and this is going to sound so cheesy, you know, with a moment to think, the person that inspires me most is my husband. Because
that's lovely.
Yeah, he has a level of commitment and discipline to personal development in very different ways to me. Like, he's not, you know, a coach or into coaching or, you know, reading about woo things or manifestation. But he has a commitment and discipline to being a good person that I have never encountered with, like, to such a high degree. And
that's
what a soppy thing. I actually find him truly inspiring, although he would hate me to be saying that. I won't be able to share this podcast with him because he'll be like, oh, that's so cheesy.
I'm sure he would appreciate your words. And I definitely think our children are our teachers, our greatest teachers.
In so many ways, not all of them comfortable.
No, exactly. Yeah. I've had a few challenges myself in that department, but I've learned lessons from it.
Yeah.
And so let's move on to some other things that I love to know about you. You're a singer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
Well, I sing.
Tell me.
Let's draw a distinction. I sing. I sing okay. I don't think I'm a singer as such, but I love to sing and I sing in a band. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, that takes courage to stand there and do that.
Yeah, do you know, that's been quite an interesting personal journey because I've always sung and I've always known that I can sing. I've got good musical ear. I come from a family that, you know, has musicality, but I struggled with crippling nerves when it came to singing solo, fronting things for much of my adult life.
Yeah.
And it's been a combination of the kind of work that we do, you know, self-therapy, self-coaching, and practice, you know, taking uncomfortable action.
Yes. Yeah.
To now be at a point where it's not horribly uncomfortable. I mean, I moved to Ireland a couple of years ago and it took a long while because sparse populations, it took a long while. I live quite rurally to put a band together. I've got a band that I've put together and we have our first gig at the end of May. And like mainly I just feel really good. It'll be lovely to finally, you know, sing out the stuff that we've been rehearsing behind closed doors for some time, but there's a definite edge on that. There's a definite edge, and I'm grateful that I have a toolkit to manage my own physiology when those nerves kick in, because it used to be the case that my throat would tighten and I'd, you know, not sound lovely. Now I'm able to sound lovely even though I might be really feeling the nerves, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, a lot of spinning techniques to calm myself back down. But I mean, I like singing too, but you really don't want to hear me. It's like one of those things. But I just think I admire anybody who stands up in front of a mic and starts to sing their heart out. I mean, and so tell me about the Crew Radio. Are you where are we with that now? Are you DJing?
Well, so Crew Radio sadly is no more. Crew Radio ended at the end of 2022.
Yeah.
But I was a DJ. I had my own show on Crew Radio for about 6 months in the final phase of the radio station. And I mean, it was wonderful. It was quite intense because a weekly show,
Yeah.
I love holding forth on the things I'm passionate about. So, you know, it was lovely to be able to hold forth on the things I'm passionate about, share lots of good tools and resources. It's all still there on Mixcloud for those that would like to listen to the replays. But it came about because I did an interview a bit like this with one of the station's presenters. Yeah. And she said, you know, she said, gosh, you know, you're really articulate. You've got a lot to say. Have you ever thought of being a radio presenter? And I was like, oh, I could definitely get in on that. And music, of course, is another love of mine. So to put those things together, you know, my favorite music, chat about all things NLP coaching, living your best life. It was a really lovely time. And it was a great community of fellow presenters as well. So as a lonely solopreneur, it actually allowed me to feel a part of something amongst like-minded people doing similar stuff. So it really bolstered me. I now have a little team around me, but when I didn't, it was so lovely to be a part of something. It was nice.
That's just, oh well, that's, so you can let us know in a minute where people can go and listen to that. But what's for the future now, Victoria? What have you got on the cards? Where's your vision? Where are you going with your coaching?
Well, so the Chrysalis, which is my group version of the Personal Power Program, launches in pilot format this Friday. And once I'm really happy that we've cracked how to make those approaches as powerful as they are one-to-one, that will roll out to the general public. And I'm really excited by that because what I've noticed is that it just resonates with people. Getting free of that old stuff just resonates with people, and the work is really powerful. I know before we started on the podcast, we talked briefly about coaching relative to other modalities and how people aren't so aware of coaching in times of struggle. We tend to think of it as a high performance thing, you know, for leaders and sports people. What I have observed is that the work that I do in that space, people come to me after years of therapy. And therapy's been good for them and it's helped them cope, but it hasn't allowed them to really transform and shake off that stuff. Yeah. And the work I do does. So people that have been in counselling and therapy for years, they experience this and everything changes. And so I think it's so important that this work is more available to more people. So I'm excited about this pilot and then rolling that out. My leadership program for women, Elevate, which is a leadership academy, the next people are enrolling now, and that will kick off on the 30th of June. And I love that in a different way. It's so good seeing these women kind of grow into their executive presence and boss it at the negotiation table and get the roles they want and really get into alignment in their careers, is lovely. So that's the 30th of June. And then from there, I think we will just keep as a team kind of developing. I'm looking at other ways to make my services available, evergreen training products around leadership confidence, things like that. And we're also looking at maybe some communities that people might be able to join around leadership, for example. And I haven't really scratched the surface of the positive intelligence mental fitness coaching, which I'm trained in, but which I think definitely has a home because it's so aligned to the work I do around mindfulness and leadership. So it's almost too many shiny objects, not enough time. The main focus at the moment is, the women in leadership and the emotion release work. And then I do also have oracle cards. I'm a little bit woo. I'm like a secret woo because I'm a terribly successful leadership professional, but I channeled a set of coaching oracle cards. They actually featured on my radio show, and it's always been my intention to make those available to other coaches. They don't predict your future. They ask you the coaching questions you need to be asked in that moment that you draw an oracle card.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and they're beautiful.
You're gonna have to let us know when they're out.
Oh, I will do. So actually, that is a project that I will keep working on over the next few months and is likely to come to market this year. And also, and I'm probably one of a million people that has this ambition, there is a book, and it's a book about leadership, but my views on what angle to take on that are always evolving. It's going to be more around leadership from a place of being healed. So it will bring in that energy release work. And actually, there's 30,000 words written, but I wrote them probably 9 months ago and then put it down and got focused on different things. So the oracle cards in the book are probably on the agenda for me to pick back up this year.
Wow, that's exciting. So when they're ready, let me know. We'll do this.
I will, of course. Yeah.
Victoria, thank you so much for your time today. Tell everybody now how they can actually find you, whereabouts, what's your website, blah, blah.
Yeah, so my website is thesuccesssmith.com. That's one more S than you're expecting in the middle. Thesuccesssmith.com. And there's also lots of free resources on there. I do my best to pump out stuff that's going to be valuable to people. You can also search me on YouTube. There's lots of video resources on YouTube. And connect to me on LinkedIn. I'm always putting out leadership resources and materials on LinkedIn. If you search for Victoria Stakelum, there's only one of me.
There's definitely unique. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
I look forward to getting in touch with you soon when you've got those cards ready.
Okay, lovely. Thank you.
Bye.